It's game jam time. In case you've forgotten, game jams are little competitions where you have to make a game that fits a theme in a certain amount of time. And if you win, you get 10,000 bragging rights and no money. You see, people do game jams for fun because being sleep deprived and coding for 3 days straight to make a mediocre game at best is just so much fun. So let's see what the theme for the Ludum Dare 55 game jam is. Summoning. I don't think there are words that can describe how much I do not like this theme. Well, none at least that won't get me demonetized. So I got to thinking and realized that I could spend 3 days not sleeping and making a game that no one will like, including myself. Or I could make a game that has nothing to do with summoning. Gasp! I don't even know if that's legal. Mr. Ludum and Mr. Dare will not like this at all. But you know what? If I'm doing this game jam for fun, then gosh darn it, I'm gonna have fun. Now it's time for a plan. I'm gonna make a game that combines Simon with a maze and call it, you'll never guess, the Simon Maze. If that seems pretty random, well, it was the first thing that popped into my head when I was taking a shower. So yeah, pretty random. Here's how the game is going to work. There's a grid that will have a secret path. Every round, the cells on the path will blink to show the player where to go, and the player has to remember this path and move along it. When he makes it to the end of the path, more of it gets revealed until he makes it to the end of the maze. And if he steps off the path, it's game over. Step 1 is to make the grid system. This was a lot easier than the ultra dynamic grid with a double buffer zone that I had to make for my Minesweeper game. After replacing the 2 Godot guys with rounded squares, it was time to move on to step 2, making the player. And our player is none other than the Godot guy, for now at least. I also made a move around the grid with WASD, nothing too crazy. Now we need to make that path thing I was talking about earlier. And believe it or not, it's very similar to a thing that I needed to do 2 years ago for the Ludum Dare 50 game jam. I also remembered that it took about 4 hours to make, so ChatGPT, do you wanna do that for me? And just like that, 4 hours of potentially bug-filled coding turned into 15 minutes of getting ChatGPT's code to work with mine. I love AI. To visualize the path, I have the appropriate cells colored as a gradient from black to red. Remember, this path will be top secret to the player, and it's colored in now just to double check that ChatGPT wasn't having one of its moments. Now, even though the path is top secret, we can't just have the player guess where to go, because at that point, this game would be no different than try to guess the random number between 1 and 4 simulator, which is not a fun game. So just like how Simon demonstrates the sequence before you do it, the Simon Maze will blink the path before you walk it. It wasn't all that bad to make, and it's working perfectly. Well, almost perfectly. There's one problem with what I have so far, and it was something I noticed with the 5x5 path. Here's how fast the path blinks at the start. And here's how fast it blinks at the end. As you can see, it's quite a bit slower. The sequence in Simon gets faster and faster, which is what I was trying to replicate here. But I accidentally copied my exponential decay curve as an exponential growth curve, meaning instead of getting faster with the blinks, it gets a lot slower. After that was working, I coded in the logic to fail the player if he goes off path, and then reset him back to the start once he finishes the sequence. And that right there marked the end of day 1. The jam started Friday at 9 p.m., and I'm calling it now at 1:41 a.m. So all that was about 5 hours. That's pretty good, and I'm happy that I'm not staying up all night, but I don't have a whole lot of time left in this jam. In classic Will Hess fashion, I forgot this jam existed until a few days before it started, and I have to work Saturday morning, all day Sunday, and all day Monday, leaving just tomorrow afternoon to finish up this game. That was one of the main reasons I really like this idea. It's quick, easy, and fun to make, I wouldn't have to spend hours making sprites, and it has nothing to do with that dingleberry of a theme. At around 1 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, I started back up making the game feel a bit nicer to play. This included making the red blinking squares fade in and out, and making the player move smoothly around, and also transitioning between levels. Next, I wanted to work on the aesthetics a bit more. Aesthetics is more of having the game look nice with colors, lighting, and general composition than having realistic 3D models or complex pixel art animations. The latter would be classified as graphics and aren't really present in the simple style I'm going for with the Simon Maze. The main way I'm planning on upping the aesthetics is with colors. Instead of just making one nice color scheme, I made 10. Using a custom resource acting as a color palette, I went to colors.co, aka my favorite website. Well, actually my second favorite website, and found a base color palette that I liked. Generating more colors that fit with the palette is super easy, and I just copied them back into the custom color palette resource. Each level randomly selects a color palette at the start, so the levels look less repetitive. That one little thing, changing the color scheme, really does do a lot for the game. It makes it look nice even with the simple Simon style. Believe it or not, but we're coming up on the end. We only have 2 more things to do, and the first is some sound effects. Because this game is based off of Simon, I went and found my old Simon and recorded some of its beeping noises. After hooking up each beeping noise with a specific direction, we now have some nice sounds. Oh, and when the player goes off path, I added that classic noise. Last but not least, I created a little main menu that uses the color palettes to stay looking nice. I also added in a level counter to the game so the player has a better idea of how far they get. And just like that, the game was done. There was literally no pressure when submitting this game because, well, I technically had 2 whole days left in the jam. I also made sure I used the older version of Godot so you can easily play it in your browser. So what are you waiting for? Go play and comment what level you can get to. It seems pretty easy, but around level 4, things start getting very difficult. Or maybe that's just my goldfish memory talking. The link to the game will be in the description. If you like this video, you'll also like all the other Game Jam videos I have on the channel, which are conveniently right here in this playlist for you. Thanks for watching. See you soon.